Hey YouTube fam, what's up? 619 Collector coming at you right here. I'm gonna try and make this one quick. Just gonna reiterate some points. Gonna do this from this upward angle. The anatomy of a Marvel legend. Here I have two figures that I've taken apart. You can probably see in the video of me cracking into these guys, but that was like a super long video, and people have complained that they can't see things. So I'm going to just run over some things from this upward angle. Some parts are missing, but that's okay because Iceman here and Pizza Spider-Man actually have the same body mold. Alright? So things are interchangeable. The easiest thing to do is the boil and pop. If you've seen a boil and pop videos, then you know that the easiest thing to do, slide over here, is taking apart joints. If you look down at the ankles, his red foot, starting here, if you were to boil and pop the figure and start from the bottom, a lot of the figure, all the boil and pop parts are pegs. This is the kind of peg that goes into the foot here. And as you see, the foot is on an angle going not straight down, but forward at an angle. So when it goes in here, that's what allows it to rotate around in that circle. Alright. Simple back and forth rocker here. You can't really take these out because these kind of pins, this is a head pin off of a Sasquatch. To get this off, I had to cut this out. Where are we at? I actually had to cut this out because these are like fused. I think these are just molded like this. You can see a mold line. So these are solid rings that are attached. I'm not exactly sure how, so I can't even tell you how if you were to try and get this out of here. I think that there's no pin that goes through all the way from one side to the other. I think this is just molded through there and maybe they glue it around, so I can't even begin to think about how you take out this or the wrist pegs, because they're kind of the same way. Alright, but that's that. When you look at going to the next thing, the joints here, I know it's clear blue plastic, but you can see clearly Marvel Legend is pegs, bigger on one side than the other. And then on the inside of the legs, the pegs will be bigger, so that what you get is you get a smaller peg on the outside. But that makes it easier on the newer Hasbro stuff. The older Hasbro and the Toy Biz suck because they were about the same. But if you're going to put this in really hot water, you know, all you do is really, really hot. This plastic gets really soft. And if you have fingernails or a small flathead screwdriver, or even a big flathead screwdriver, you can just go in there and pop it right off the pins and slide the pins out, you know. And then when you heat it back up, you can even just put it there and push it back in with your hand. So that's what comes next for the pins. Now the thighs here, the upper thigh and the crotch area are missing, but since they're the same, we'll go over it. The upper part of the leg here has a peg. It's a post. It's a little bit thicker, but it slides into this top piece here. And that's how this connects. Pretty obvious. So the lower part is a hole that accepts the post from here. Now these parts, you can see, are two pieces of a harder plastic. Ignore this. This has been like drilled into to allow for more articulation. So technically it doesn't go this high. Actually, let's grab one. I got another one laying over here from Cyclops. You'll see that the amount of cut you get, if you ever wonder why your Legends figure only has so much articulation as far as the leg spread, it's because of the slit here in the top. Alright, it's two pieces molded together. I mean, two pieces molded separately and then glued together on top of this peg, so you really can't heat this up and pop this. This is a different kind of plastic. It's a much harder plastic than this, so no matter how much you heat, this really doesn't get soft enough for you to pop this out. So one time what I did was I Dremeled into here and it allowed for Pizza Spider-Man to get much more articulation. Alright, but that's what goes inside the crotch area. Let's move over to Spider-Man here and look, because his darker plastic makes it a little bit easier to see. Now the way this is just a barbell. You know, it's the round joint on each side, and this post that goes across the center has a little post that sticks out here, and that piece goes into the butt. All right, now here, this part here accepts that, and then there you go. It's pretty sturdy, even without holding it. That's what holds that in there. So that when you put this piece on top, the front of the crotch, it holds it tight. And the front of the crotch has this, Spider-Man has a very deep cut here. Not all figures do. Let me see if I can find Cyclops. I guess more figures do now, but this deeper cut here, it does show more of your joints, but it allows you to get more articulation. So if you ever wondered, like, why is there so much of a gap here on figures, it's because it allows you to get higher. They used to be more of a slant, like this here, from an older Ultron figure. And you can imagine that this cut here would get in the way of hindering articulation when compared to that. So here, this wide cut allows the leg to come up further in the front. This here is, I keep saying here, but this is the post that's going to connect the body to the waist. You can see how it's designed. This here has angles on it. I think it's 8 or 10 sides. Let's see. Yeah, I think this is 10 sides. And that's to add some ratchet. If it was just round, it would just move pretty easily. But by giving it different sides and making it snug and tight every time it's going to turn in there, you know, it gives it a little bit of a ratchet. Not a lot, but just a little bit of resistance and friction. Now what you see, you see holes. You see one up here, you see one over here, and you're going to see one down here. Those are the post holes. The way they join the harder plastics together. As you can see, that Spider-Man has holes. He has posts here, here, and here. When you crack a figure, you don't always keep these intact. Sometimes these will break off, but that's all right. But those are connected here. All right. And that's what that looks like. Now, not every figure is the same. Some figures are very different. But if I were going to be putting this together, I would be using my super glue. And I would be applying it everywhere except where there are moving parts. So I wouldn't put any here, near here. And I wouldn't put any near here because I wouldn't want this to get stuck. But I would do all of here in the post holes, whether the posts are broken or not, and the holes can still be used. I'll put glue there as much surface area as possible. I'll even try to get glue around this area and down here at the bottom. All right, get in focus a little bit. So yeah, as you can see, I'd get glue here, all around here. I would not put any near this white part, and none here. Where, well, this doesn't really move, but I would try to avoid getting any here on the legs. All right, I'd put that together, and then I would use a vice clamp. Ow. Something like this clamp. They have smaller ones. You can get this for like $3.50 or something. I forget how much it is, but I like the rubber. It's a softer kind of plastic or hard rubber, but I get that in there and it squeezes it together, and that's how I close up my joints. Now, as you can see how this fits, this piece here isn't completely round. See how it's kind of squared off on the sides? That is because this is cut to fit just inside of there. And that's the snug fit. So this is the lower portion. Again, you're going to see posts 1 and 2. And they've actually broken in there. Well, again, doesn't matter, because if I were going to glue this, I would be gluing anywhere except for where there's motion. So I'd glue all this on the side up to here, and then back across the top, and then on the sides, and then I'd get it in the hole there. I'd avoid this piece here. But what that does is that keeps this keeps the top part steady and make sure it only rotates inside there. And you can see when you pull it, it's opening that up because of the friction, because of the sides down there. So as it moves, it's gonna have, you know, a little bit of a rub inside of there. That's how it's supposed to be. The front section of the abs have this. This is what connects the lower torso, right, to the upper torso in here. Actually, it's the back, isn't it? No, it's the front. What do we got here? Got the front abs, the chest. This piece goes into here and connects. Alright, so that's how that's held in there. Alright. And then when you connect the back and the front, it holds it together. Now this mechanism is really simple. It's 2 parts. Now this is from Iceman because they have the same body, and I lost Spider-Man. You can even swap them out. But what this is each side of the post is square. And here, if you can look really closely, you can see that this is ribbed. The ribs go out because this piece here, this little keyhole piece, fits over it, nice and snug, designed to fit perfectly tight. And that, you hear that? That's where your clicking comes from. Alright. There's a ballet class going on downstairs. That's what that noise is. So that's how that fits in there. And then this fits together here. I wanted this video to be short, but I think a good explanation is good. So that's how the pieces are held together, just so you know what's going on in there. And then this part goes here. This part goes here. So now you see this is squared on the side because this is squared on the inside. So this fits in there nice and tight. And you see how it moves with the figure? Alright. Now again, let's go into the posts. Some figures are different. I cracked open a Cyclops and he was a pain because his insides were different. For the longest time, when I'd go into a Marvel Legend, you can see here on the side, you know, it's going to go on, there's no post here, but it's going to connect there. There was a post there, and there's a post up top right under, right around the base of the neck. You can look here and see. And then you can tell the glue is on the sides and in those 2 posts. Alright. Recently I opened up Cyclops and he was a pain in the ass, but he's hollow on the inside with none of those posts. Okay, you see he had 2 posts here on the shoulder, and that's it, just those 2 posts on the shoulder. He had slots down the side. Unfortunately, this is the first time this ever happened to me, but actually the plastic it gave and it cracked here. Don't, you know, I don't want to say, oh my god, don't do this, because I've opened up a bunch of Marvel Legends. This is the first time it ever got soft on me and cracked, but you can see those stress lines. When you start to stress the figure, you'll see these lines. They get very light, let you know that it's really giving way. I think that this particular figure was just glued really, really strong. But, you know, figures differ on the inside, and this one is very different. It could just be that this is the Bucky Cap mold, and this is how they're all done. I don't know. I don't think I've opened too many of them, so I can't tell you if they're all done like that. But now I'm going to go and tell you how butterfly joints are connected. So for the butterfly joints, these shoulders, you know, it's the same thing. Let's slide over real quick. It's the same boil and pop action, you know, for the post on the hands and the lower forearms. Very similar to the knees are the elbows. The biceps are similar to the upper thighs. But at the shoulders, you'll have a post like this. This is what goes down into the bicep. Where are we at? In the bicep like that. And then this part doesn't go directly into the shoulder. Let's find Cyclops. Let's take a quick look. If you have a figure that doesn't have a butterfly joint, what's happening is that shoulder is pegged directly into the hard plastic. You're not going to be able to heat this up and pull this out. And if you do, it's going to be rough. But you're not going to be able to take these joints and pull them out and put them back in easily. As you can see, it's molded, it's slotted, and it's ribbed to fit in there very tight. That's why you don't get any wiggle room with things like that. But with the butterfly joints, you see how this has a post on it? All right. That post at the shoulder is meant to go into this portion of the arm. So this is the butterfly joint portion that you see on figures. And it's different because with butterfly joints, they don't do top and bottom. I don't know if some of the newer ones do, but with these, they don't. You're going to see here, those holes there are meant to slot this in. Okay? And as you can see here coming through the inside for Spidey, that's where that joint comes out. So that's what allows the butterfly motion. Okay? So that's why this is also a softer rubber kind, just like, you know, the rest of the joints. Again, you can see the shoulders a little different. I don't know. You can see the shoulders have a ring joint there, just like the posts on the wrists and like the ankles. So you don't really take these apart. You can swap shoulders with figures. You can swap biceps. Post size varies, again, from figure to figure. Sometimes length. Like, I don't know if I could take, I don't know I'd want to, but I don't know if I could take Iceman's bicep and put it on to Cyclops' shoulder, because sometimes shoulder posts are different. These two look pretty similar, but you can even see how this one is more of a mushroom. This one comes down, right? But then you can see it straightens out and goes into a knob there. Then there's the difference in length. I think looking at it, Cyclops looks a little bit longer here in the actual post. From here to here looks a little bit longer. And then, of course, there's the part that goes into the body, because Cyclops pegs directly into the shoulder. He's got this flat disc, where Iceman has a post similar to what he has down. That's why if you were going to heat, these arms and this body was still closed, let's just place this down real quick and give a quick assembly. That's why if you were going to put the arms back in, see Spidey's arm there, Spidey's arm there, and then, you know, place my glue, again, my glue down on the sides, my glue up top, my glue on the two posts. Put his top in. If this was still connected, you could heat this up, and with some, you know, little bit of effort, you could pull this shoulder out of the butterfly joint. You could do that. But that's that. Again, you know, you want to take your clamp. Once it's glued up, take your clamp and put your section here. You want to do the crotch when you glue it, then you want to glue this with your super glue and put it back together, and then you glue your upper body. And then here at the top, you know, you're going to see a little bit of this gappage. You could add more glue and then squeeze in your top piece. but since we have an open figure here, let's not waste an opportunity. I'm going to open it up and go over neck posts. Neck posts differ. Again, because it's the same body, we'll have the same style neck post. I think even Cyclops has the same style neck post. This is Cyclops here compared to Spider-Man. We'll see some differences right away. Immediately the color. But then you'll look side by side and you'll see that even though these are the same size, which varies, if I were to put, let's see, if I were to put Spider-Man's head, we'll see. I'm doing it off camera because it's what I got to work with, holding it by pliers. I think Cyclops' head might be, nope. So Cyclops' head fits on that because the design is the same and the post hole. These are the same width. The red and the blue balls are the same. What varies sometimes will be length. Let's see if I have, kind of winging it here. Okay. Ultron. Ultron was not meant to have swappable heads. So the Ultron doesn't even have a big post. He's got a tiny little hole and the post just goes right in there and it's stuck. So again, Ultron's head off would be a B-hotch, and then it's not meant to go into any of the figures. Now I'm sure you've probably had multiple Legends before, and if you've ever popped the head off, you'll see, okay, this is a big guy. This is Bulldozer. Much bigger figure, right? Look at the size of that. But then when we get up to the head, look at how different that is. Look at the small ball on that compared to this guy. All right, that's going to be different. The next thing that may be a problem, because people have asked about it, is swapping. If you hold this up to, hold Cyclops up to Spider-Man, you'll see that the Cyclops is much wider than the Spider-Man. Okay, getting a close look, I think the size may be about the same, you know, but just this disc here is much wider than on the Spider-Man. And while they both have the squat here, some will have length to their posts, some will be a shorter length, some will have pretty long posts. Let me see if I have, no, Apocalypse kind of has the same post there. I don't think I have one handy. No, I don't have a handy dandy. Okay, this is a random figure, but you'll see how he has a little bit of length there. This is a UFC figure, but he's got a little bit of length to his post. And then some figures have posts that are twice that length. So because of the difference, you wouldn't be able to put Spider-Man head on this body. One, it's too small. The post doesn't fit, so the head isn't stable. The length is different. So there's not really a lot of standardized size to the heads, although this figure has similar articulation and similar articulation points. I'm sure the basic mechanics are the same. The way this is pegged, those are pegged. The way the upper thigh goes into the lower thigh. The way the arms are done, the butterfly joints, and the head articulation. The only difference is where you have the same waist swivel, this operates on a diaphragm joint. But essentially, with figures like this, the articulation and the build of the figures is generally the same. Alright, so NECA figures will be a little bit different. But that's pretty much it. You know, an in-depth, from above, better camera angle, I hope. The anatomy of a Marvel Legends figure. Now again, this is just this one. This is Spider-Man. And just from around me, I've got enough figures to show you that it varies very, very drastically from figure to figure. So in the size, even though these two are built the same way, the compatible parts are going to be very different. Here, inside, the post that connects this to that will be different. They don't match up. You're never going to open up like 10 figures and say, hey, they're all the same. Let's just compare Cyclops to Spider-Man. They look very similar, but with an older figure like Ultron, whom is over here in parts. God, just look at the inside of that. You know, gotta say, Ultron was the easiest figure I've ever taken apart. He just came apart beautifully. Like, for some reason, if you're kit bashing an older figure, here you have the Pizza Spidey mold, Cyclops, and then this Ultron, which is thinner on the in-between parts, and sometimes the discs won't be the same, but you get variations. So they look similar at first glance, but they're not. You know? So these are things you're going to come across. But again, I mean, these figures only cost 20 bucks. If you have a junk figure you got cheap, or if it's broken and you're trying to do a repair, or maybe you want to do a little kit bash primarily would just be boiling, popping limbs, you know, stuff like that. If you're getting into the more technical stuff, or if you want to crack a figure for some reason and put two pieces together, like I've done in the past, way down on my list, you would see the Man-Bat, where I put Marvel Legends style torso on a figure that only had front and back leg articulation. Speaking of leg articulation, you can see how he doesn't have a huge cutout. You know, so he can't get quite a 90, but you can get up and rotate. So that's a difference right there in the crotch areas. But bigger guys like that don't need kind of crazy articulation. But that's it. That's the anatomy of a Marvel Legend in under 30 minutes. That's pretty in-depth. The other videos are just longer because I'm just kind of cracking stuff. I'm not really explaining. But here I could do comparisons. I could show you some things. I could really go in depth. And that's it, man. He's back together. For glue, simple kind of super glue. This is just Impact Tough Formula, yada yada, Gorilla Glue. I like to use, if you can, like kind of like a gel type Gorilla Glue. Just because it's not as runny. If you use a thinner kind of super glue, just be careful that it doesn't run too much, and super glue can leave a film. That's kind of what you were seeing going down here, because I didn't have any floor polish or clear nail polish to kind of, you know, close that up and stop the wobble, but that's a different video. But yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you could see clearly. I hope the explanations help you if you ever try to do something like this on your own, if you ever have to do a repair, or you're ever curious as to what's moving inside and what's happening in the figure, or if you want to customize. Alright, well, someone's got to go potty, so I'm out. Thank you. Please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll see you next time.